Mask off. 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 You've been tuned in to Mask Off, with conversation will rule the nation on face-to-face basis when we blast off. It's real on the asphalt, on the turf of the court. Yeah, we here for the sport, so take your mask off so I can hear your ass talk. Let me hear you explain. Hold the thoughts on your brain. Is your ass small? Spit facts and real talk. I need that shit from the street that make you think real deep and take a long walk. This podcast is hella lit with my man JD Fence and Skizzo Blizzo.
You know what it is, baby. Back in the building. Mask Uncovered Podcast. Tuning in. You already know you got J Defense. That's JAYDFENCE on all platforms. Before I pass it over real quick to my man to introduce himself, I want to kind of in a slight way, dedicate this, to, some of the people that we've lost over the last few months, man. But definitely want to say a rest in peace to Aunt Benny down in Maryland. Martha, we got you, stay strong. To her family and friends, man, condolences. And let's move on.
Yeah, I'd like to give a little shout out to R.I.P. Brownie. I don't know if you all know Brownie, one of my OGs from the hood. A lot of people watching this might know him. He just passed a few weeks ago. They had services last week. So R.I.P. to my boy, R.I.P. R.I.P. to my man B. But we back at it. Your boy Hollywood Skiz, back with Mask Uncovered Podcast. We back on. Some of you haven't seen us in a while. Just be patient, like I keep saying. We're working on it. Tonight we got my man in here. He's been here before. My man E. Hall,
yes.
Community activist, teacher, investor. I mean, he does it all. If you watched our last interview with him, you kind of know it was based on financial literacy. But tonight we're going a different direction. E. Hall, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. How you doing, man? I'm Eric Hall, founder, CEO of the Hall Group, also creator of the Diamond Project, creator, CEO, chef, which we're going to talk about tonight. But just out of respect, because we gave a few shouts, I want to shout out our guy Greg, man. Greg,
yes, rest in peace, Greg.
Heart, man, that was a big hit. Good dude, man. Always about the community, coach, referee, activist. Always doing things that make the community better.
Smooth on the court, too.
Smooth on the court, too. Every time we see each other, we just crack like me and Skizzo. People don't know cracking is a part of our greeting and introduction.
Right. That's all we did, man.
That's all we did, have fun, man, and laugh, man. And Greg was always a positive dude. So
always.
I want to give him shouts and all the other losses. We all can name a number of losses since the last time I was on this show. We can't give all the names, man, but rest in peace to everybody. And it's a lesson, man. Live your best life, man, because you never know, man, when your time is coming. So, again, shouts to everybody. And I'm glad to be back with my two bros here, JD and Skizzo Blizzo, just to talk about the work in the community and how we can all make an impact on some level. So, I don't know if you guys have some intro questions, but I'm just back to talk about the work I'm doing, some of the new things I've launched since the last time I was here. I'm proud to see you guys still moving. Glad the show's still rocking. I think this show can be a national hit, man. So everybody that don't support this show, man, support the show.
Yeah, I know you got your hands in a lot of pots, and this is gonna be like a Hog Mosh type of podcast. You guys, this is a real good friend of ours, so he's got his hands in a lot of pots and dishes. So, this y'all just be entertained right now. This isn't one of those rundown podcasts of okay, A, B, C, and D. This is the way you're gonna get it. This is us just kicking it, man, and we turning the cameras on. So just sit back and relax and enjoy the show. But so real quick, cause I saw you post something on Instagram. I think it was a building on Dudley Street or maybe Tremont Street.
Oh yeah.
And something about a business that you had going with that. Can you
what it was,
man?
Talk it's a building that's been there for years in our community. I know there was a commercial building on the lower level before. To the ladies, a few ladies chimed in like, "Oh, I used to get my hair products." There was a hair store on the bottom floor. Which, by the way, you guys, hair care I didn't know was $1 billion business, or maybe even multi-billion. But it was a hair store on the first floor. But then the other was units. So now I'm just looking at this building vacant, man. I'm like, okay, that building's just sitting there. So to somebody like myself, I'm a visionary. So when I see buildings like that, I think of the potential. I think of the housing. I think of the ownership. I think of the businesses that could go there. and just the potential. So I took a picture of that building. I did not know the widespread response I was going to get. I said, I'm claiming this building. And I said, I'm looking for serious people, investors, people that want to get this building because it's right where Roxbury and South End kind of mesh.
Right
It
there.
turns from South End to Roxbury right
And it's
there.
on Tremont, right?
Right on Tremont,
okay.
Washington.
Yep, Tremont, Washington.
You know what I'm saying? And so, again, man, just a building that can do some phenomenal things. It can be affordable housing, home ownership, different things that can be done. And it has all the commercial space. You can put a gym in there, whatever you want to do. Because I'm working now with some developers, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But my mind on development became more real when I started meeting people who was doing it. Actually taking lots, turning them into 3-family homes. Taking lots, putting 15 units on it, 20 units, 30 units, 100 units, or whatever. And I see the reality of that now. So that's one of the things I'll share when I talk about the 40 Acres project with the kids and teaching them about real estate. But I posted that just to see the response I would get. And the response was crazy. People like, I want to be down. Put me on. How can I be involved? And that's some of the early work I was doing when I was working directly with my man, Will Dunn, and the Nubian Square Foundation.
Done. He'll be on soon, too.
The Nubian Square Foundation is an organization that's doing some phenomenal things. And the biggest goal was collective economics. How can we come together and do things collectively?
Okay.
Us three together got more power, or 5 of us together got more power than any one of us by ourselves.
Right.
So other coaches do it, but we're like the last to start doing it. I think we're beginning to catch on and seeing like, yo, let's stop being funny with each other when it comes to money. Let's get this money together.
It's the crabs in a barrel type mentality. Like we think that if somebody's not going to be able to pull their weight, then why have them join in, right? So going back, because obviously I've been to school and so forth, but we started a business probably in the 90s or what have you, and we would sit at the table, like 12 to 15 of us. Okay, so we're going to do this. This is going to be your job, your aspect. So this is what you could bring to the table. Some people had kids, some people had families, some people were selling drugs, some people were doing drugs. Whatever it is, this is what you could bring to the table, right? And the first thing that I saw was people were worried about the other person's job. So in other words, my job was to sweep floors, right? Let's just say. Your job was to clean the windows, right? This is abstract talking. Now, I started finding out, like, listen, I feel like I'm sweeping more floors than you're washing windows or cleaning windows. This is like, you knew going in, I said I was going to, we already knew I was going to wash 5 windows per week. And now you're saying that you have a problem with that. So do you find problems or issues with people when they want to join in, that it's more infighting? And then what's the resolution or something like that? I mean, obviously you can't change people's mind, but like, have you run across anything like that?
I think what happens, man, I hear people say partnership. I think sometimes with partnership, sometimes the expectation is the same going in. When the work starts, what happens is you may have somebody doing more or less. And I had a partnership for 10 years. My 2 brothers I had a partnership with. Man, we did some phenomenal work together. But I began to question certain things in the partnership. Sometimes somebody did more, sometimes somebody did less.
Right.
It's like, if I'm doing more, this person's doing more, should they get more money? How does that work? And I think what needs to happen is, I don't think that means don't do partnership, but have clear understanding of the expectations going in. Like, you're going to handle this part, and you're going to solely run that piece of the company. You're going to handle contracts, you're going to handle that part of the company. So if you don't do something over here, that's my area, I can't get mad at you, because we had an understanding that you're going to do the contracts, paperwork. I'm going to do whether it's the getting new clients or whatever. I'm focused on getting clients. You're going to focus on getting new business. So whatever the case may be, just make sure you always have an understanding of who's doing what. Because what happens also, too, is if you're really good at something, then that, how being good is a blessing and a curse. It happens at jobs all the time.
Not the expectation.
They know you're good at something, so they just expect you to do it.
Right.
Like, I don't got to carry my weight because JD got that. Skizzo got that.
Right.
But it got to be clear expectations and understanding of who's going to carry what.
Right.
And I think just really being clear about that helps in the beginning. That don't mean the partnership can't go sideways.
Real quick, before we get too far for that building, back to that building, like you said, is that something possible? Like, is that something that you can look into?
Man,
like, I know you said
when I look at somebody get an empty lot and take that lot and build on that lot and turn it into something that was nothing, you got a building that's already sitting. Now, the only challenge is sometimes, the know-how or to get to that building, it may be protected because somebody's holding it for someone else. So sometimes the information that's the part where it can get tricky. You know, I know there's spaces in, you know, they're building condos right now across from where I live. Several of us was trying to get that space, but we never knew how to get to the space because we never, it was a number on it. They not seeing the U.S. Marshal on it. Try to call that. So sometimes stuff is protected by people in power that want to either hold the space for someone else. So right now we're doing our due diligence to find out who owns the building.
Right.
And once you know who owns the building, then you can make some phone calls. But the challenge sometimes is find out who owns it. You can find it on record, but it could be in a trust, it could be in a corporation, it could be in a ghost code, it could be listed several ways where you can't find out. But it is possible. Why? Because all you need is resources and money. You know, now you can get construction loans to fix a property. You know what I'm saying?
Why is that in our community there's a lack of group investors?
Group economics,
Is-
absolutely.
Is it a lack because is it a lack of people who group up to invest to buy property in our community? Are we being redlined? Like what's going on?
And
Why
a
can't we?
lot of that stuff is a part of it, man. A lot of it, you know, when I do my real estate course, I show a course on how, you know, just the redlining and the redistrict, all the things that were done in our community, you know, bad mortgages and all the things that were done because of our lack of information and knowledge. So somebody can only do something to you when you don't know any better.
But how many developers do we have from our community? Most developers who come in and
Are not
shit
from the
down and
community.
buy are not from our
Absolutely, no,
community.
that's part of the problem.
Do we know of any in-house developers?
And so that's one of the things. That's one of the things. And one of the challenges I would say is there's some developers that look like us, and it's getting to them and find out who they are. And it's actually more than I thought there were. So what's happening is I know I'm working with someone that's developing, but they're also educating because they brought me in to educate. So as opposed to developing this property and just rent to people or sell, you know, I know developers personally now. That's like, you know what, we're going to develop, but we want to make sure that people in this community got a fair chance. So we're going to help you get credit ready. We're going to help you get income ready. How do we help you remove stuff from your credit? How do we help you not get bad inquiries? All the things that make people not home ownership ready. There are some new, because now we're catching on to the game and we're being let in the game.
Right.
And sometimes it's not enough of us. That's why I do what I got to do to educate as many people so there's more of us. So there's more of us that own, because once you own, now you're being invited to this meeting and that meeting. Now you're in the know with homeowners associations. Now you know what's going on with mortgages because now you got a mortgage. You're dealing with bankers. So for me, the education is a big part because that was kept from us. The actual ownership was kept from us. Getting the money from the bank was kept from us. But now we got people who look like us, they got the bag.
Right.
Believe it or not. They got serious bags, and that's open to changing the game. Now, is it enough of us? No. Is it enough people doing it? No. And one of the things we got to do is break the thought that we can't work together. You know what I mean? So that's a trust thing. It's going to take some time because we've been systemically and strategically taught to not trust one another.
Right.
Right.
You just look at the system and look at history.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's facts on some of it. Like, I definitely agree. The more of us, the more we can do. But you also have to be careful when you make a commitment. Who's in that group?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
So
'Cause
wholeheartedly,
like you said, a lot
of
of
course.
people are uneducated,
Of
and you
course.
don't want them involved. Well, not necessarily because you can educate, but some people are uneducated and ignorant, and that's not who you want in a group if you want to start an investment group.
Absolutely.
So you got to do your homework.
You have
got to have the same goals. And like my uncle told me way back, anybody you get in bed with or getting, this is not women. I don't know.
People
Yeah.
take that wrong with it.
Anybody you get in business with, you start investment groups with, make sure they're doing better than you or the same. Make sure they've showed something in their past to make it interesting or appealing for you to get into that group. It's most of the time it's not going to work if you just five dudes on the street like let's put 10,000 in with no vision and let's buy this.
Right.
That's usually not how it works.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
No, I
Or do you
totally
think
agree. I
you
totally
can
agree
start
that
raw?
you can't. I don't believe in going into nothing, not knowing who you're getting involved with. You got to make sure you know. And so all this, you know, when we talk collective economics with the right group of individuals, the collective economics can be us putting $100 together to make $1,000 investment, doing some small things, and learning how to grow that money. You know, but then you get into a project that's a little more complex before I do anything in development, I want to take some time to learn about development. So I'm shadowing a developer now to learn what that game's like. But then when I see expenses at $79,000 for the month, I'm like, that's a serious game.
Right.
The expenses for $79,000.
Right.
The expenses for the month at $79,000. Okay, that's a different ball game. They ain't like paying a light bill,
Right.
paying a gas bill.
Right.
So you want to find people that's also a student to what you guys are trying to do. And I think it really boils down to just changing the narrative that we can work together, providing the right things in place. You just never blindly do nothing. I don't care if we're going to buy this box of Snickers at BJ's and get you on the block and hustle these Snickers. I want to know that you're going to move your Snickers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got a pass to moving these Snickers.
Right.
So back to what you were saying about making sure people are either better where you are or better. Because you there's an old saying, if you're the biggest fish in your pond, what? You got to find a different pond. Because if you're the biggest fish, everybody's coming to you for advice, insight, knowledge, and you can't grow, So me as an educator, I got to always have people that educate me so I can bring good knowledge back to the community, to the youth, and to the adults that don't know, you know what I mean?
How do you find that, though? Like, okay, so I want to get into property or just some of the classes or things that you're a part of. Like, is this like on websites? Like, I know with social media nowadays, it's a lot easier to reach a lot more people. But
definitely.
If you just want to shout out a couple of those places or ways, because like, how did you find a developer to, follow or to actually help guide you or what have you? Like, how do you find these people?
Part of it is working. So when you're working, you're out there in the grind. When I'm doing these classes, I'm meeting people. I go out and I did a perfect example. I met a lady who came and spoke at one of my classes. I went and did an event at the Freedom House, and I'm going to talk about the 6 weeks I just did with them. I did an event where they did an event where it was like speed dating, but it was speed coaching. So it was me at a table with a group of youth, a developer at a table, somebody else at a table, a vice president at a table.
Oh, that's nice.
And the youth got to build with that professional and then talk about what they learned at their table. Then they rotate, boom, you go to the next table. So I had 3 rounds of young people that I can pick my brain for a few minutes. Then they had to spit back what they learned. At that event, we got to share some things. A few people approached me. One lady was a real estate owner who's also a VP for a company. At the end, she said, hey, you got some resources I need to get incorporated. I got 5 properties I want to incorporate. After we built, come to find out, we ended up getting a great relationship. So I started doing a series at that same location. I invited her out. She came back. The people were like, what you doing here? Oh, Eric invited me out. 1 minute, I'm just meeting you now. You're coming out to my event at their location.
Networking.
She told me at the end, I'm looking to start a real estate group. Would you be down? I'm like, absolutely. She shares with my group of young people, I'm taking a year off. I was talking to them about the power of real estate. She shares with them, I'm taking a year off, but because of my assets, my real estate, I can take a year off of work and travel. So she's on her way to Dubai. I'm going to Dubai tomorrow morning.
Wow.
And then she came back. She said, I'm going out to the so-and-so mountains to spend time at a resort and just sit by the beach, look over some deals.
And right now, the best some of us could do is go to Devon Street. Right? You know what I mean? Like, she go to Dubai.
And that goes back. It's an after party here tonight.
I can make it a Mattapan Square, I went to the square yesterday.
Yeah, she go to Dubai, we go to Devon Street.
But that meant a lot for my kids. For my kids to hear her say, I'm taking a year off. Now, she has a great job. She probably makes multiple 6 figures.
Right.
But she has multiple properties that's going to take care of all of her expenses. So when the kids yesterday was telling me I'm wrapping up, they're like, yo, we learn passive income. And so I said, what's the power of passive income? And we talked about her. It was like, she makes passive income. So her income comes in whether she's doing work or not. Mm-hmm. So she can be sit by the poolside with her feet up, drinking them mojito, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because of the money. She ain't got to kill herself.
That might went past a few people's head. Let them know what passive.
Passive income is like real estate is a form of passive income, where the money's being made whether you do something or not, whether you get out of bed or not. Right. That's passive income. You know what I'm saying? And so, and those are things. Those are new learning tools that we have to bring to the community. That's why I start teaching to our young people. Funny thing is, a lot of the young people go home and tell their parents. So the parents are telling kids, ask him, can he sit down with us? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good
Because
thing.
now it starts the conversation that was just, go to work, get a job, work hard. Right. Graduate, get a job, work hard. But we never taught how to make passive income or make money work for us.
Right. You got to put in the work to make passive
income. You got to put in the work because that's when you meet people, man. You meet people when you work, and then you network, and you start learning how other people that's outside your circle do things.
And if you don't network, back to what JD said, networking is key to growing. Like we have our podcast, what you're doing with multiple businesses and investments. If you don't network, if you don't get out and go to these groups and seminars and meet people, you don't grow as a person or as a business.
Right.
So that's key. Anybody out here listening, like, don't go to the same barbershop talking the same dumb shit every weekend. Like, challenge yourself, man. Go to the library. Go get on the internet. Look at some of these classes that we'll be telling you. Some of these Monopoly games my man holds. Like, expand, or you'll stay the same, man. Challenge yourself and be around people who know more than you. That's, you know what I mean. I don't want you to be scared of that. That'll help you grow. And as a business, which we are, as a podcast, I think we'll be doing more of that because a lot of people don't see us. You see us Friday. I mean, you see us when we air our podcast, but in the community, you don't see us. We don't rub hands with investors and more entertainers, you know, just when they come here. So we learn from our guest here that we have to do more to expand ourselves. And this is a learning experience for all of us. You know what I mean? Just because we have a podcast doesn't mean we can't learn from some of our guests.
Absolutely. And the same goes. It's iron sharpening iron. I want to launch a podcast. I'm learning from you guys. I got questions about cameras. It's all a learned experience, man, that we got to get away from. You can't do what I do, or we can't do. Nah, man, it's enough people in the world that we can all reach. Like, somebody want to hear from a JD, somebody want to hear from Skizzo, somebody want to hear from me. And we got different things that we can teach. And we got to get out of this competitive spirit. That's another thing I want to say about our community. We got to get out of this competitive spirit. Now, we are competitive.
Right.
I know Skizzo and JD play ball, so they both. You know, I know it's competitive. Competition is a normal. It's a normal thing. It's a normal thing. But in the spirit of playing the sport or having fun in the game, it matters that the competitive spirit is not what you live by. What I mean is, the only competition you should really have is yourself. You get better at ball by competing with yourself, making sure your dribble get better, your shot get better. That's where the real competition. And then you're gonna outshine the person that didn't prepare.
Right.
The person that didn't prepare, you're gonna do better, but not because you competed with them, but because you prepared better. So live your life in preparation. No, but I'm saying because most times we do things in competition and we don't realize somebody I'm competing with can be a good partner of mine. What you said the other day when you mentioned the cleaning, I was like, I was thinking about boo, boo, boo. And we went down the line of how can we collaborate on the cleaning as opposed to, man, he gonna get it.
Yeah.
That's the first thing we do, though. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you got something that's proprietary, like the CEO Chef is my brand, I gotta protect that. I need to trademark that. It is trademarked. Y'all got a trademark Mask Uncovered. So we do have to protect what we own. So if you got something that's proprietary, and everybody understand this, intellectual properties is something you got to learn about because that's how you protect things. And somebody put that B on a different hat and said Baltimore something, the Red Sox can sue them because that B is proprietary to the Red Sox, at least the way they designed it.
Right.
So understand that power. That's another thing too. And it's just different learning that we have to do. But back to the competitive spirit, if we lose that and just start getting to know people, we'll realize even people that do financial literacy, if I talk to 5 people that do it, I'm not in competition with none of them because all 5 of us will define it differently. But I promise you there's something that I can take from each of those people that can make me better. Yeah. And I've been in competitive rooms where I had to say, listen, y'all, we're not competing. I can take what you do and do it. You can take what I do and do it. But nobody can replace the individual. So that's one thing I want to encourage you because somebody, you say, compete. Yeah, compete with yourself. Work every day to get better personally. And you're going to outshine those who didn't prepare by default. So you don't have to compete with nobody. You do better research, you get more knowledge. You're going to maybe do better than the other person. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, man, it's about collective. For us, we got to learn how to be more collective in economics and in ideas. And there's a way to do that smart by knowing who you're in business with, in bed with. Because if you don't, then you can find yourself $100,000 in the hole, $100 million in the hole. You know what I'm saying? You don't want that. So,
yeah, I want you to speak a little bit more about the classes that you're teaching because I know you keep saying, I even brought them back to my kids and you were mentioning the kids. So people out there might want to know, like, what kids? What do you mean? Like, do you own a school? Do you own a classroom? What are you doing?
So what I do over the years in teaching financial literacy, I actually started many years ago teaching young people, and that's how I got into teaching it to adults.
Okay.
because the kids was going home like, yo, mom learned about banking and this and that. I know what the IRA is, and I know about real estate. I'm learning about business. And parents would say, who's teaching you this stuff? I just work a 9 to 5. I just work a regular job, but I don't know about all these different bank accounts. So to fast forward to today, it's been about 20 years that I've been teaching this information to young people. And the Monopoly, you mentioned Monopoly, right? What I do is I use Monopoly as a tool to spark the interest in young people. First of all, the game's been around for years, for decades. People have been playing
We all
it.
played it.
Now,
Yeah.
really, we've all played
Grew up.
Monopoly.
Yeah.
We could talk to every person that's out there that none of them look like us.
Right.
Everybody out there is white. Everybody in here is black. I promise you, all of us have played Monopoly.
Right. Right.
It's a universal game because what's universal? Money.
The game of horseshoe that you used to get the horse. Which piece?
The
Which
horse is
piece?
my favorite
Yeah,
piece.
see, that's what I was gonna say. See,
Everybody got a favorite
horse-
piece, yo,
yeah.
the car.
Yeah, the car
On the
was the
shoe, on
joint.
the thumbprint.
Nobody wanted to be that little peanut cup though, the little thumbnail thing. Yo, that was the worst. Like if
The
you had
wheelbarrow.
that,
Nobody
yeah.
wanted the wheelbarrow. Well, again. So that game, because it was universal, what I've done is I take the principles from the game and show young people this is how people build wealth. Owners, you win when you own. So in the game, they have a format. I'm teaching them negotiation, how to have a conversation about property, how to develop, the difference between the rent and the mortgage. That may not seem like much, but to a young person who only understands the word rent, now knowing what a mortgage is like, well,
Right.
I want to have a mortgage one
Right.
day. I want
Right.
to own my own house one day.
Right.
So that game turns into have a full course that goes with the game.
So you've changed the game of Monopoly, or
What
you
I
found
did
a
was I
way
do have
to?
rules. People say they're hood rules. I'm like, they're not hood rules, but if you guys know, a good game can last for hours.
Right.
So what I do is I do it with you can play the game in 2 hours, even an hour and a half, because you don't have to pass go to buy property. Once all the property is bought, you can develop it together. You don't have to try to negotiate to get somebody's property. So man, you can develop and put hotels on it against everybody. So imagine you got 4 or 5
snap.
deals.
Oh.
The way the kids love it because they're like, wow, even the adults never played it like that. And I introduced a lot of new people to the game because a lot of foreigners have never played Monopoly. A young lady said yesterday, yo, I finally know how to play Monopoly. I never played it. But the words that's in the game, the language, is how the real world works. So I tied it to real development. I said, when we put a house on here, that's development. When you turn it into a hotel, that's development. So now the Monopoly card is so crazy. I got a tournament during the April vacation. I'm taking it to Atlanta, taking it to Memphis. I'm going to teach young people in different states.
Wow.
And what I do is have professionals play with the kids. Because I got developers, brokers, realtors, lawyers playing the game with the kids. So the one I'm doing I would love for you guys to be there. The one I'm doing, it's going to be the 19th or the 20th. I got to call it back during the April vacation. It's going to be with professionals, realtors, and all
Yeah,
that.
I would love to be a part of that.
Come, man. You know what I mean?
Sure,
And
we
you
can
can be a part
record
of it
this
because
stuff,
what
yeah.
happens is, I'm telling people, do it in your home. Take it in the home. Young kid asked me yesterday, could you come and talk to my family about the stuff you've been sharing with us so that they can know more about this business? I said, absolutely.
Wow.
Some people
Yes.
looking at that as another way to educate the community going into people's homes.
Yes.
But I'm developing staff to help me with that piece because that's time and it's consumption. You know what I mean? But I've been doing a class, man, anywhere from elementary kids. I did some elementary kids at the not Mattapan, the community center at Mattapan.
The Matter Hut?
The Matter Hut.
Yeah, yeah.
The community center. Yo, I had 2nd through 6th graders. Them kids was on it, man. They was learning. We did the Monopoly. So again, planting the seed is the key.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you plant a seed, you'll know that seed's going to germinate and resonate somewhere else. It's going to help become a harvest somewhere else.
Right.
But at least I planted the seed. And so some of my 18-year-olds, a kid hit me today, 18 years old. In that same group, he said, when could you sit down with me and show me how to get my stuff started? He wants to invest. He wants to get into real
Wow.
estate. So these kids take this stuff. These are kids from Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan. That's why when people talk about our community, I'm like, we got to rewrite the narrative. That's why I love y'all show.
Exactly.
Y'all from Roxbury, we all from Roxbury,
Right.
but we know every single person in Roxbury ain't criminals.
Right, right. But see, this is why this is so beautiful.
And even if they are, it doesn't mean
Right.
stops.
Absolutely, people change and people learn and people
You
grow.
go to jail, the jail institution is one of the best. You get the most knowledge there than anywhere else, man.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of people there who. It's not
But-
everyone
but
who just
also-
murders somebody. It's
Also-
all type of crimes.
All type of crimes, absolutely.
Also, if you look at the people in our hood, right? Like people, just because you have a case don't make you a criminal, right?
No,
These people
absolutely,
aren't criminal. They might have been
absolutely.
caught for a criminal act. But see, I love the idea of what you're doing. Like you said, like you're talking to people, you're starting so young with these cats. Can you imagine if we had this? And not to say it was just all negative, because we definitely had some gems around us. We had some Sherman, some Lenny Jacksons, some Charlie Roses and so forth that they wasn't teaching us about wealth, stuff like that. They weren't talking to us about ownership. They were just trying to tell us and show us that there was something better than what we were doing. There was something outside of Project Walls. And not to be followers and stuff like that. And we had a lot of more pressing things, gang violence, teenage pregnancy, drugs and alcohol. So how to stay away from that stuff. So like to incorporate, okay, you don't want me to do drugs and alcohol. You don't want me to, be a teenage parent. What else is it? Like, at some point, I wish somebody else could have been dropping that gem of, open up a bank account. Get a credit card, but only have, $5 on it. Something like that. Like, just start teaching you about credit, things of that nature. So it's just a blessing to have somebody like you as a friend, but also still working in the same community that, you grew up in. And that, so I love to be a part of that during April vacation.
And,
Definitely.
And the bigger picture is, okay, teaching, that's great. But how do you get these kids, or not just kids, but I'm sure there's
with adults, I can show you pics. Go ahead, you finish the question before.
How do you get them to apply what you've taught them? Because that's the goal.
That's the biggest
knowledge.
piece.
You can go home with the knowledge every day and die with it.
Absolutely.
But what's the...
And then there's a known fact that 10% of people that come to like seminars and conferences, only about 10% of them use that information. So one of my goals in my teaching is, how do I change that number? How do I get more to use? And so that means I got to be intentional in my teaching. So I got to be more provocative in my teaching than what I do. So like at the Croxton, I was a life skills coach. Week 5 and 6, I'm teaching economics, because life skills, part of that is financial principles, dealing with money, being a good manager of your money, good steward over your money. So in week 5 and 6, I teach financial literacy. And I pull out the Monopoly game. People are like, why do you use? Because even with adults, a different mechanism is sparked when you have fun and when you're learning to play, even with adults. So now adults who are like, wow, I never thought about owning. Now they're like, let me look into a first-time home buyers class. Right. Just making that step is application. Right. Opening an account when we kept our money in a shoebox. Right. Application. Right. Saying, I save $50 on my check every week now. Application. Mm-hmm. So we just got to change the narrative and what we do when we do the education, because the facts are only 10% will use that information. Right. But I take the culinary students, which I'll talk about. We talk about CEO chef. Those students, catering companies, restaurants. The Pearl was a student of the culinary program. That restaurant, other restaurants, Sam Spots Catering. These are folks who are doing phenomenal things, and a lot of them came to the table with knowledge. Like the owner of the Pearl was already in real estate. Very bright woman, and her husband and her family that came up the Pearls in the South Bay. So for me to be able to say a student got a restaurant, you know how good that feels? It ain't like I gave her nothing. She was already getting banking, doing her thing in real estate, but now got a restaurant and do other students. So that application, when I can see in real time, so I got to get better at capturing those stories. Mm-hmm. So me personally, I got to be able to, that's why I brought the reel for you to show. That's why I try to get, so I got my video guide now. Because I'm realizing that was the only difference in me and a company making millions or bringing in millions to serve their community, not to lace my pockets. Right. Imagine how many programs I can do if I got the proper funding. Mm-hmm. Or what I can do, I'll just bring it to the community center. I ain't got to pay nothing. Right now, they may have to find a budget, but if I got the funding, I can just go in and do it because I know I can get the results. So the impact, that part is sticking with people, because accountability after the class is big. So even if somebody goes to a home buying class with me, I need to have brokers at the end. I need to have realtors. That's why I partner and network.
Our show was just on that last week.
So those realtors, I say, hey, I got 2 people that's ready. I need somebody that got a mortgage. I got a mortgage guy. I got somebody that got a 680. Can you sit with them? Right. Those phone call away.
So you're not just teaching.
Not just teaching. It's the only way to do it effectively, because people thought life kicks in. Right. Soon as class is over, students be like, man, the adult students, man, what am I going to do every day? I was coming to class every day. Now life kicks in. Now you got to take this knowledge and use it. But we help them with job placement, putting a resume out there. And a lot of them start their own business. I take people to City Hall to literally start their business. It takes 5 minutes to do that. I take them to City Hall. Right. Like, I could have did this on my own. I'm like, I know. Right. Mm-hmm. But it's that support. because that's what we need in our community because we've gotten the opposite. So the application piece is big, man, and I try to stress being intentional on my behalf to make sure they apply it.
Right.
Students just text me, yo, I got some new ideas I want to run it by you. All right, call me. I stay accessible to my students. Do I always get paid? No, but it don't matter. That's worth its weight in gold. That the students can still call me, got the access, you know what I'm saying, and I don't feel burnt out because it's a phone call.
Well, that was my next question. How do you separate, because you have your own life to live, you know what I'm saying? Like, and whether or not you want to spill even your own personal life, whether, you know, family and so forth. But, you know, what about time for that? Like, you know, my phone can't ring every day, all day for everybody else too. So like, do you find your own peace? Because a lot of people don't understand, like, you know, we're living in these days and times of, you know,
Peace of
having,
mind,
yeah,
man,
peace, knowledge, and
absolutely,
having,
man.
you know.
And I want to be
peace.
honest with you, JD. Can I be honest with y'all?
Yes, please
No,
do.
on this show.
On this
Yeah,
show,
shit.
I'm gonna be honest, man.
Shit,
You know,
we
I
playing
have more.
horseshoe.
I have more free time than the average person that work a 9 to 5. I'm gonna say it again. I have way more free time than the average person that work a 9 to 5.
Damn.
Because while somebody working 9 to 5, I can go to the beach and meditate, and I do it all the time. I make sure I have time in there for me because.
Now you ain't
You
taking
know.
these little kids to the beach.
Nah, man, I'm at the beach. So I'll go literally. I literally go get some good music. I even got my little speaker. I'll take it. You know.
You ain't meditating with nobody's
Nah,
kids.
no,
dude.
you're crazy. So, you know, what I do is I find time for myself. I read. I do this. I go make. You know, I got to work out a little bit more. I'm getting that back in. I'm getting back in there because we ain't getting no younger. But I take
passive
time.
income, I
And
guess.
Right.
You do that.
One passive income, and also, you know, it matters that you have a good partner at the crib. But the one good thing about the good and bad of business, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down.
Right.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
But when you can get referral fees, that's people's yearly income. It's not a bad hit.
Right.
Right.
But that comes from networking and being able to connect this one with that one. People call me like, "Yo, I got, okay, just drop it in, put it in the account." Because I've done things that build value, but now I can refer somebody and then they make monthly what somebody take all month to make. I'm just giving a phone call from you to you.
Right.
You did that. Oh, you gonna hire my guy? Okay, well I'll see you because that's part of my company. Part of my company is helping people get more business. That is very lucrative, you guys.
And I guess budgeting and balancing is extremely
Extremely
important for
important.
someone like you.
It's
who
extremely
don't have
important.
a regular 9 to 5.
It's extremely important because, again, having a solid partner, you know, the Wiz ride or die, been with me from day one. Man, the Wiz got 30 years in. So
wow, beautiful.
when she wasn't
Beautiful.
working, I'm like, baby, don't worry, you want to just chill for a little bit. I worked 2 jobs and built my business.
Right.
So when she went back to work, I said, okay, well, let me fall back and just go ahead and grind with the business. I'll bring all of it in, but I know I got a Wiz that'll do whatever she got to do.
years in, huh?
30 years.
So you got 30 years in. You met her when you was 15.
Why you talking about age?
age?
So I tell my age.
That's you was meditating on
You
the beach
already
when you met.
Sometimes just to make sure, sometimes, man, don't lie, y'all. When God start bringing blessings, I got to go and go to the wall and pray because that's where I find my peace. One time we had lost a family member and my wife was like, my grandmother called, rest in peace, my grandma. She asked me, oh, where are your hubby? She's like, oh, he went to the water. My grandmother's like, oh, Lord, he went to the water. Now, y'all know black folks don't kill themselves by drowning. If black people do commit, they're not. I don't want to play with suicide. That's very real.
Right.
I know people that have went out the door from that. But for my grandmother to get worried, I thought it was more funny than anything.
Yeah.
I wasn't even mad, kids. She was like, "Oh Lord, who did he go to the water for? Why he at the water?" And I'm like, "That's when I knew my family really didn't understand me totally." Yo, she really was, and had other people in the family like, "Oh Lord," they looking for me. I'm like, "I'm good, yo." And the wizard know, like, if she know I need to meditate, get out my head. She know she'll by the water, just take it all in. I pray, meditate. You know what I'm saying? Do my one.
That's good to find that peace.
But you gotta find your peace.
Yeah.
Your peace may be music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe watch a good comedy show.
Right.
Laughing helps you because there's a lot of people who right now are struggling with depression.
Yeah. Right.
Struggle.
Right. It's
I've
real.
had my
It's
problem
real.
years
It's
ago.
real.
Mental illness is very big.
And it's
You
hard
know
to
what I'm
talk
saying?
about.
It's hard to talk
Yeah,
about.
right.
And then, the group that a lot of people think don't suffer from it is black men.
Right. Right.
Listen, I wrote something in my book, man. It's in the S chapter. of the
You
Diamond
got to bring
Project.
your book.
I didn't
too.
even bring it. Did I give y'all one? I think I brought it.
I forgot to bring your book.
So the Diamond Project, you can find it on Amazon. It's the Diamond Project, and the subtitle is "Find and Develop Your Hidden Treasures." I wrote a chapter
I'm on
on
page 3.
Look, he's on the intro. So in
He's
the
on,
S
if
chapter,
you take his book and put it to the side, it's a magazine. You know?
in the middle.
Nah, very good book.
So in the S chapter, I write about it's a chapter for men, and so I talk about a lady who her husband worked with her father. Father was a millionaire, and her husband worked with her father, and so the father was like said to the daughter, "Well, everything all right?" Because he's struggling at work. He wasn't pulling the contracts, wasn't doing everything he needed to do. So Pop was like, "What's up with hubby? Everything okay at home?" And the wife was like, "No, he's good. He don't no, he's good at home. He don't boom. He don't talk about they had a tragedy in the family." And so the wife's like, "No, he's good. He's all right. He's nothing that I would think is a problem." So the father said, "What you got to understand about men, the things that they don't talk about is what's killing them."
Right.
They had lost their child. It was eating them up. It was eating them up because they lost a child, but because they didn't talk about it, the wife thought he was okay and he was healed. The pop said the thing that men don't talk about is what's killing them. And think about it. Man. We don't even go to the hospital unless we damn near dead.
And we're taught not to show our
Right.
emotions.
We're not taught to,
Right.
and we're taught not to.
solve the
Yeah, man.
problem
Yeah.
however
You the
can.
beast,
Don't
you're a
cry.
Superman. Don't cry,
Yeah.
you're Superman.
Mhm.
And that's
Be
one of
tough.
the biggest myths that I think hurt a lot of. I say this, man. A lot of our young men have been hurt by that. A lot of us was hurt by that because we took our anger and turned it somewhere else
Right.
as opposed to deal with the
Right.
tragedy.
Right.
I lost Big Mom. I lost my auntie.
Right.
So we go, and what do? We got that thing, better nobody say nothing to me.
Right.
I'm splashing
Right.
anybody,
Right.
your life, whatever is done, if you say something to me. That's how we was taught to deal with anger. Because we can't don't go cry about it, hurt somebody,
That's
do
where
something
that
to somebody.
attitude of "I wish a nigga would" come from.
That's where it came from.
We walk around with that edge.
With the attitude, nobody doing
Like,
nothing to you, but
right.
you're going through something. You're mad. You're really hurting. So hurting gets converted. That's energy. That energy got to go somewhere.
And
That's
your
why now they
father's
took
like-
recess out of schools because you need to get that.
Yeah.
You want to be in class all day, but take recess out. I need to run around to get that energy disbursement out. And so a lot of, I always say a lot of good men could be great men if they was taught how to deal with emotions. A lot of young boys don't know how to deal with it, so they fight.
But they don't know how to deal with it because a
They was
lot
never
of
taught.
fathers have failed
Absolutely,
their kids
absolutely.
from them not knowing.
Absolutely,
A lot of
absolutely.
fathers tell their kids, man, someone say something, you punch him in the
Right.
face.
Knock them out,
Right.
lay them out.
Right.
Man, punch this. You want your kid to punch this motherfucker who got a gun in the car?
Right,
Like
right,
you,
right.
you're teaching them how to be tough, and I mean tough and smart is a big difference.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you want
Definitely,
anybody
definitely.
smacking your kid in the head and he not doing anything, whatever. But you gotta be strategic with life.
You
out
have
there
to.
now,
You have
man.
to.
Right.
You have to.
These other fathers are raising their kids ruthlessly. Like they're seeing their father come out of jail. Their father murdered someone at 21. Those are the kids you're dealing with when you're raising your kids. So you have to be careful what
How you
tell
tell them to
Yeah.
respond to things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, too, you guys, you can show your kids how to have healthy emotions. Nobody wants their boys to act a certain way. I'm gonna just leave it at that
Right.
because you lose all
Right.
kind of stuff now when you
Right.
say the wrong thing.
Right.
Nobody wants you want your boys to be boys. You want your
Yeah.
girls to be girls.
Right.
Boys
Right.
grow up to be men.
But you want them to grow up to be men. But you
Right.
got to show them how to have health. It's called healthy emotions.
Right.
Healthy emotions is not being soft. It's not being. It's healthy emotions. Yo, you just lost your grandma. Yo, go in the back room and cry, bro. Go cry.
Right.
Get that out your system.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Go get it out your system, man. You
Go
don't have
in the back room.
to turn that
Cry
to
right
end.
now.
Cry right
Yeah.
here, like
Yeah.
give your son a hug, man. And people don't know that stuff goes a long way. And then there's people that have exploited that, and people that have made money from our culture. They've exploited that anger factor and turned us against each other. That's what people think. The gangs and all that stuff just came out of that, man. A lot of stuff was created, man. We had harmony in the community. You put that crap in the middle of a struggling community. Now I could get rich while you stay poor. You use it, I sell it. That was a strategy, man.
Right.
Heroin, a strategy. All of it was strategies, man. And we bought in, and people exploited. They exploited really our strength and our power.
Right.
That's really what it was. They exploited the fact that we were the first, and we are the creative. So we got to get back to our rightful place, man. And that's educating our community to be a community and not be divided, man. And the big piece is teach our boys how to have healthy emotions.
You got that right.
Those are real workshops, man. Teach our sons how to have healthy emotions, how to respond, emotional intelligence. I'm not quite there on if you smack me, I'm turning another cheek. I'm not quite there.
Yeah. No,
Pray for
no.
me, Jack.
No, it's definitely no.
But
It's
you understand what
understandable.
I'm saying?
But no, but
People want to fight if you step on his sneaker,
but it's-
walk by him wrong. Anything got you ready to.
But it's ironic that there's so many of us, right? We have our childhood friends that are no longer here, right? And this is across the globe, right? But how many of them, went down a path or did something in a split second? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, because of this. Sometimes you don't even know how you could change somebody's life around just by maybe even, giving them some guidance at a time or even speaking to them. Sometimes you even know when somebody's going through something. But everybody wants to be like, oh, yo, that was my man or whatever. Like, yo, you heard when his mama passed or something like that. Did you reach out to him? Like, nah, you a tough dude. Like, you can't even call your man like, listen, man, I know you're going through something, man. You want to go out, grab something to eat or drink or something like that. We don't even do that. But then we act like we do. So in other words, then when I bump into you, you be like, oh, yeah, man, shiz, man, I was going to call him too. It's more of that. Like, yo, I miss my man. You know what I mean? Like, yo, that was really my dude. Like, I really miss my man. But, like, really, are you trying to convince me or are you trying to convince yourself?
Absolutely.
Because let's be real. Like, did you really behave? Like, that's why I want my peoples to be my peoples. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference between saying something and showing those actions, man. And you'll be surprised at how many people need that sometimes. People are going through shit, man. Like,
even as grown men, we need that support. Like, we need that. You know what I'm saying? And so, again, man, that's why I'm glad of what you guys are doing. I love coming on here, man, and just building with y'all because it's just putting these messages out there to the community. You know what I'm saying? And saying we didn't get it all right, but some things was our fault, some things wasn't our fault. So how do we go back and fix some of these things? You know what I'm saying? To make it do better.
A lot with our podcast is lately, you see a lot of positive interviews on our podcast now. I know everybody likes controversy. They want a motherfucker up here who killed 7 motherfuckers and niggas and ratted on their crew and all that shit. All type of rappers and shit jumping on the desk, but you're gonna see some of that too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of positive.
That's
stuff
next
on
week.
this, you know what I mean? Yeah, next week. You never know, man. Pants sag, all type of shit. But
Tight jeans, it's whatever up there. Nah.
but take something from this, man. We're not just airing this for you guys to see it. Like you're hearing a lot of positive information that you can put to work for yourself. What you hear here, don't just listen. Like make a difference. So you're bound to see anything on this podcast, but when you see the positive stuff, don't just listen. Don't just look. Find out the information that we give you. Jot it down. My man E Hall, he'll give you where you can find the schools. I mean, where he teaches, the seminars, or other information you might need that he doesn't do, or we might know to push you in the right direction. So don't be scared to make a change from this podcast.
And when you hear these links, like when we share our stuff, or even comment on the videos too, hey, listen, like you said, networking. So, okay, if you want to reach out to E Hall after he gives his information, hey, how do I get in contact with a doctor in my neighborhood? Who knows? But he may have a link to somebody that could connect. So it starts somewhere, right? But also piggybacking off of what Skizzle just said a few seconds ago, is another part of this podcast too is actually a part of something we wish we had, something that when we were younger, growing up, if this was something that was put on our air, see, social media is so big nowadays, like we had to do the word of mouth. And you see how tough we had to be or what was known to be a man in the 80s and 90s or what have you. So now you guys, there's podcasts all over the place. So to get something positive, to see people that lived it, to see people that's trying to do better in their neighborhoods, do better for our community, it's just a push in the right direction. So
absolutely. And just to share, real quick, if anybody you can go to, I know we're going to do a check-in at the end. I like to do it twice. My website for the Hall Group is hallgroupunlimited.com. Again, that's Hall Group Unlimited, all one word, hallgroupunlimited.com. And on that, I encourage you to go through, look at some of the different things I do. And at the end, I'll encourage you to go to the end and do the subscribe. So put your name and your email on there. That way you'll be on my database. So as I start sending out information, sending out alerts on different things, if we're doing conferences, got guest speakers coming or whatever's going on with the Hall Group, you'll be able to get that and you'll be in my database. And if you're somebody who has particular interest, definitely follow up with me, send me an email. My email is ericdhall22@gmail.com. Again, that's ericdhall22@gmail.com. So you can find me at the Hall Group. That's my website. ericdhall22@gmail is the email. Reach out. You may have a group of young people that you work with. And listen, I encourage people, some folks, they bring me in based on the need, and some bring me in if they have a budget. It's funny how our young people always get, we'll do the extra if we got it to do our young people. Don't let price or money stop you from reaching out. Reach out. Let's talk about how we can make something work to serve our young people. I've worked with shelters. I've worked with mothers who are getting their first apartment that were homeless. I work with seniors. I work with every group. Then I've developed a platform in a way where I can speak to any group and help them move the needle. As Skizzo was saying, how do I get them to use the information? And I use measuring tools, whether that's pre and post test, or just following people through the process. And now I'm building a team because this thing is spreading. So I need more help to be able to follow people and to coach people. So I'm building a team around those efforts. So if none of you got any more questions, I'll speak in a few about the CEO Chef and what that initiative is. But if you guys got any more questions, I'd love to. I don't know what our time looks like.
Yeah, we're moving on to the CEO Chef.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about the CEO Chef. Yeah.
So so it's crazy, man. Like Top Chef, them chef shows be crazy, man.
What
so
you in Rel's Kitchen
instead
of Hell's
not
Kitchen?
Yet, man.
You in really Rel's Kitchen?
The CEO Chef Kitchen. So this is an initiative, and while it seemed like it's far left from what I do, it's right in line because it boils down to education. It's about education. So at the Kroc Center, I've helped graduate 28 classes of culinary students, over 250 students. I was a life skills coach. Like I told you during week 5 and 6, I do the financial literacy stuff.
Right.
So I start my first week as intro. The first class is Emotions Make the World Go Round, and we deal with what we was talking about. Because we got men in the class, I hone in, but I deal with what the ladies have to deal with too, because in most classes, I've had someone battling with homelessness, child care, or just needing to make more money. Mm-hmm. So emotions are a strong part of what people are dealing with. Because when you broke, that puts you to a certain emotion. When you're mad, that's another emotion. When you get kicked out of your place, that's an emotion. Your car get repoed, the kids acting up at school, all that's emotion. And the first thing I start off with, are women more emotional than men?
Oh.
And you know why I deal with that question? Because I get such different answers. So when it's only a few guys in the room, look, when it's only a few guys in the room, I'm like, be careful how you answer because we outnumbered, man. They're going to be jumping me out the class. But we have fun with it because I deal with that. Because at the end of it, no, men and women are equally emotional. We just show them differently. And people will agree or disagree, but what I say is if you look at it like this, some guys be like, women are more emotional. A few women was like, I know some guys that act like me.
Yeah. So, I know.
And I know some guys that
going.
gossip like me. But so it's neither way. Yeah. If you get angry, that's an emotion. Somebody pushing you on a fight, that's an emotion. I think we think of emotion as the frailty of a woman or femininity. Right. That's not emotion. Right. Emotion is mind and heart. How you feel, how you think. They go together. So at the end of it, we're all equally emotional. So then we talk that through.
That's going to be a part. We have a part.
You got to do that. And let me tell you why, though. And I'm going to tell you why.
Next week,
let me tell you why. Because I think women that will use that women are more emotional, if it's an area that a woman knows she needs to fix, she can use that as a trump card.
Right.
When there's something she can legitimately fix. Right. And a dude could be wrong, and he'll use it as his trump card. Like, you're just emotional. Mm-hmm. You way too emotional. And we'll use that when he need to fix something. Right. That makes sense? Yeah. To the lady in the room, first lady, it makes sense? Men and women can use it as a crutch.
No, I agree.
As opposed to fixing what they need to fix.
I don't want to get into it because it'll be a show about emotion.
Yeah. I'm with you. No. I don't want to get emotional right now.
Yo, when we all talk about when we all mentioned the losses earlier, right?
Yeah.
That gave us a certain emotion, like, wow. Boom. So the reason I start with that is because you got to take people there to get them to a better place.
Right.
Then I go into perspective. Then I go into how do you become a brand. Then I get into protecting your soil, which is you, your ideas, your mind, your heart. So emotion starts the conversation. So that class, man, I graduated 250 students, and I'm proud of it because those students are doing phenomenal. These students, so from that birth to CEO Chefs, I do cook too.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to get
Yeah,
to that.
So
yeah,
now I'm leading up. So the CEO chef came out of me doing all these classes.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm like, man, I feel like I'm gonna do something with food. Like I'm gonna have a restaurant or something. So this started out. It was gonna be a podcast where the CEO chef would interview. Say I come to interview you guys, right?
Yeah.
I would bring the food as the chef and interview y'all about y'all podcast and what y'all are doing. But say I go interview a cook who got a restaurant. They'll provide the food. I'll come as the CEO and interview them as the CEO. So I'll be interviewing people, and food will always be the staple of the show. Make sense?
No, not
So
really.
food would always be. So if I'm coming to interview you,
Yep.
you got a cleaning business.
Yep.
The CEO chef is going to interview you because I want to bring more exposure to black businesses. So I'm
Okay.
giving your company exposure on the CEO chef platform.
Got you.
But the centerpiece of the show is going to be food.
So there will be a brief introduction of what you brought or how you
Yeah,
did it or
and
something
that's a
like
small
that?
talk, but that's a brief introduction to food. But it's really to expose a new
Gotcha,
company.
gotcha.
It's like going on G Garvin.
Yeah, I
So it's
got
like
you.
sharing
there.
I got you.
You know what I mean? So it's a
Yeah.
way to expose black
Like Trick
business.
Daddy's joint.
Oh,
Trick
I
Daddy
don't
got a
know.
podcast like
And what's
that.
his
where
name
he
just
chefing up.
I
But
think
either
what's
way,
his name?
yeah, bump that
Go
joint.
down, too.
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah.
you know
I
what
heard-
else,
yeah.
my man from Houston, the Trillburger joint.
Oh, Bun B.
Yeah.
Bun B. I'm
Yeah.
reaching out. I'm reaching out to
Yo,
them cats.
Bun B, man.
You
I
know
know
what
you
I'm
and Lil
saying?
Sin
Nah,
talk
but
all the
I got, man,
time.
my food's crazy,
Lil
bro.
Sin, man, let's make this happen.
So
I'm
nah,
gonna
he
get
gonna
that
scared
Bun
say
B
he said I
interview.
can't cook. See, that's where he sleep on me on the food. But anyway, so that was the goal of the CEO chef.
You
To
talking
bring
about hot dogs and nachos?
Nah,
something
bro.
like that?
Yo, I did 3 funerals, dude. I did 3 parties. Dude, my food got standing ovation, bro.
Well,
See, kids don't think
did
this
your
is
parties lead to the? Never mind.
Nah.
Oh, that's all.
Did I kill him?
Listen,
I got people that have vouched.
Fried peanut butter. and
No, I
jelly
got people that have
yams.
vouched for the CEO
Yo, do you
chef.
put fluff in your peanut butter and
Of
jelly
course,
sandwich?
man.
All right.
So the
then
CEO
you a
chef is turned into a whole community of cooks.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is, so I'm about to do a podcast in Brockton. So I'll bring other cooks in to help teach the cooking. I'll do the life skills. But also part of what I'm going to be doing in Brockton at the church is I'm going to be feeding the homeless and educating them. So I'm going to be feeding them, and then I'm going to be teaching them life skills. Because some people need a way out, man.
Because that's the attractive part is the food. And then
It's the
get
food.
into the meat of
So
the
we're going to
food.
feed them,
Get
say,
that-
listen, on
get
Thursday
into
night,
the meat of
you know
the
what I'm saying?
Get into
situation.
the
I'll bring some food to the, and y'all on air, I'll bring some of my stuff. You'll be like, yo, E, you did?
Nah, we
I
gonna
bring
have
food
you-
to the
they
show.
got a kitchen. We gonna
They
have
got a
you cook
kitchen,
it.
without a
So
doubt.
we can
So you can see it.
Yeah, we'll come in. Mother.
Yo, I have people
Yeah,
at events be like, yo, your wife cooked this.
Yeah, we'll go hit Popeyes.
I'm like, yo, I really cooked this. Nah, I can chef though. But the thing with the CEO chef, the phenomenal thing about it is, I've been approached to have my own TV show, to have my own TV network. I'm going to be doing a podcast in Brockton and doing a homeless thing, but I'm going to be teaching the people in Brockton cooking. I'm going to be doing a cooking class and all that. Then teaching, but I'm doing financial literacy and some more stuff. So just busy.
So
man,
is that
doing the
something
work.
that people can sign up to join or be a
Well,
part
the
of? Or
CEO
it's just
chef-
your, yeah, the CEO
What I'm doing, the
chef.
CEO
That's
chef,
just
I
your-
am starting the membership side of it, where you can be a
But
part
as
of
of
the
now,
community.
it's just your thing, right?
And
now.
the
It's
biggest
not-
thing, no, it's becoming a community.
Okay.
So I haven't
okay,
started it yet. Now people can still go and put their name on my site
Okay.
because the CEO chef is a home group product.
What's
It's
the
a,
site?
the
Yeah.
home group site is my
Say that
CEO
again.
chef stuff
Yeah.
is on there.
All
Okay.
right. So go
And the
to
biggest goal now, what I'm doing
Hall
now,
Group Limited,
allgroupunlimited.com.
unlimited.com.
I'm teaching people the business of cooking. So does that make sense?
Definitely.
You
now.
can
I got
cook,
you now.
but you don't know how to start a catering company. You want to get in restaurants. You got a sauce. You want to get in stores. How to get on consignment at restaurants and stores. And
It's a
so I
lot
want to teach
to
people the
cook, just
cooking,
like
the business of cooking.
the same way people that know about movies and like rappers or actors, like how there's so many parts to it, producing, directing,
Absolutely.
behind the camera,
Absolutely.
writing scripts. So
Absolutely.
I see what you're saying. There's a lot more to the cooking.
And I got students who, one of my students is putting out, shout out to Chef P, her own line of chef coats. She got her own
Okay.
utensils.
Oh,
I want you to imagine, I want you to imagine this, JD. Imagine Martha Stewart used her utensils on her show. What happens to those utensils?
Oh man, out the window.
So people don't understand it's a whole other world, man.
Yeah.
So food is a whole, I got students with sauces. I make my own sauces. So the CEO Chef Brandon started
You make
really.
your
But to that
sauce.
point,
Come
yo,
on,
but
man, it's
to
starting
that-
to come together.
But to that
He's
point,
hey, I can
like
see I'm
you
happy
said,
to prove this dude.
all it took was like Oprah, like she
One
made
endorsement.
somebody like Dr. Phil. Like
One endorsement, man. One endorsement.
He's on that event. If that's her name. Is that how you pronounce her
Yeah,
name?
Iyanla Van Zandt.
Iyanla Van
I
Zandt.
used to
Like
jack it
so,
up too.
but
I had to say it over and over.
but
to
still,
get it right.
all in all, like no bull. It's like all you need is one, right? Like
Just
so
one.
that to fall into the right hands, like your boy from the Dallas Mavericks, the owner, Mark Cuban. Like in other words, like if he came down and he saw or tasted some food or something that you haven't.
I want to put at his arena.
You just don't know. But again, we just blabbing now. Right. But either way, so we're gonna shout out our social media again. We're gonna start with you. Let's give out your social media.
So the social media, you can find me on Instagram, Eric Hall 2273. On the gram, on Facebook, it's Eric D Hall. You'll see me when it comes up. And on LinkedIn, it's the same, Eric D Hall. So those are the only 3 I got right now currently. Those are current 3 that I have right now. But you can also go to my site and see what I do. I put a lot of my work on there. I'm going to start being more intentional about putting things on there where people can find me. Because I wasn't putting my pricing or my products and how people can get to me on there. I'll just put pictures of me doing the work. But I wasn't telling people how they can get to me. And I got to do more of that. You know what I'm saying? So
knock it out.
Got you. Well, I mean, anything else anybody got to say before we wrap this up tonight, man? Any more information you want to give out on ourselves?
From my side, just, continue to support. We love the comments that we're getting. Brother B down in Texas, family, I'm glad that you keep watching and responding and all the comments. We love it. Again, that's Mask Uncovered on everything. Mask Uncovered. Watch the product on YouTube. And again, that came right on time. And again, I'm Jay Defense. That's JAYDEFENCE. All platforms. Thanks for tuning in.
It's your boy, Hollywood Skids. The same, you know it. Repetitive. I'll tell you once, I'll tell you again. But tune in next week. You never know what it'll be. Just tune in, man. Keep supporting.
Tune in, baby. Love, peace, and nappy. Chris. Shout out my nigga KG, too.
KG,
Skids hating because he can't cook hot dogs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See the hate, man.
I heard he likes to put his mustard inside the hot dog.
Sauce.